Good evening, everyone. I am Madhura Munch, and I welcome you all for today's webinar Ambition or Relation Reach Comfortably to Destination, a balance of work and life, hosted by the Green Aims Foundation. With this, I request Ms. Uma Sheth to give an introduction of the Green Aims Foundation.
Thank you, Madhura. Good evening, all our online viewers, and a warm welcome to our speaker, Dr. Ashutosh Pradhan sir. Talking about Green Aims Foundation, it is a registered NGO formed with an intent to provide opportunity to rural India and connect with the mainstream. Our Green Aims Foundation is the brainchild of our founders Randeep Pawar and Revati Pawar. Both of them are also promoters at Green Aims Infotech Private Limited. Our NGO, we intend to create an impact in an area of education, health, and many more such fields. Instead of me speaking further about our NGO, let me quickly take you through the AV of Green Aims Foundation. Team, run the AV please.
नमस्कार, रामकृष्ण हरी. मुलांचा अप्रतिम रिस्पॉन्स येतोय, अप्रतिम प्रतिसाद आहे. खूप ऍक्टिव्ह मुलं आहेत, त्यांच्याकडून आपण खूप काही शिकण्यासारखं आहे. आपलं जे सेशन होत आहे ते सेशन होत असताना एवढं सगळं टेक्निकल पार्ट म्हणजे सुरुवातीपासून ते आतापर्यंत 175 लोक इथे आपल्याला ऐकत होते. एवढ्या सगळ्या लोकांना हँडल करण्यासाठी मदतीसाठी एक हात माझ्यासाठी पुढे आला.
त्या टेक्निकल टीमचे ग्रीन एम फाउंडेशन आहे, रणदीप पवार सर आहेत आणि त्यांची जी टीम आहे ती आपल्याला पूर्णपणे सपोर्ट करत आहे. म्हणून हे सगळं हा जो उपक्रम आपण तुमच्यापर्यंत घेऊन येऊ शकतो.
With deep sense of appreciation, we thank the Green Aims Foundation for their technical support.
This is not a Zoom
Wow,
meeting.
wasn't it interesting and inspiring? If you feel so, want to support us or be part of us, get in touch with us on csr@greenaimsfoundation.org, or you can WhatsApp us on our number. A small gesture can make a huge impact. And on this note, let me get back to Madhura, who shall now introduce our speaker, Dr. Ashutosh Pradhan sir. Over to you, Madhura.
Thank you, Uma ma'am. That was indeed really inspiring. Coming to our speaker, Dr. Ashutosh Pradhan. Dr. Ashutosh Pradhan has been practicing homeopathy since 23rd January 1993. That is since the last 27 years in Vileparle East. He has treated many non-infectious, infectious, acute, as well as chronic diseases, including the COVID-19 patients of mild, moderate, and severe stages successfully with the correct use of homeopathic system of medicine. Right since day one of his practice, Dr. Pradhan was determined to restore the health of his patients as per the WHO's definition of health. Being a convinced follower of the WHO's definition of health, he was aware of the impact of stress on health. He has delivered multiple effective stress management workshops for employees of renowned corporate organizations, namely the Bharat Forge Limited, Sintel Limited, DHFL, and so on. With this short introduction, I would like to welcome our speaker for today, Dr. Ashutosh Pradhan.
Thank you, Madhura, and thank you, Uma. Good evening, everybody. Good evening to all and everyone who is attending this particular webinar. I'm very glad to see you all online with us. So, let us begin with today's presentation. Today's topic, which I'll be covering, is ambition or relation reach comfortably to destination. Now, with work from home, it's quite difficult, to cope up with timelines, and then you are working at home and then managing home as well as work. It's a bit a kind of, you have to travel in a very thin kind of line. So today we are going to deal with how we are going to handle this particular situation, as well as later on, whenever you're going to resume your office, also at that time, how you're going to deal with this particular, life as well as work balance. First of all, to begin with, I'll offer my great thanks to Randeep Pawar as well as Amit Samani from Green Ames Foundation, as well as very thanks to all other Green Ames committee members for supporting me for this particular lecture. I am a consulting homeopath, so you must be wondering what exactly is been meant by consulting homeopath. What's that? Basically, I usually cover this particular 2 slides so that it gives you a kind of vision as to what exactly is the education which I have undergone. So if you look at the BHMS curriculum, whenever I say myself as consulting homeopath, my degree is BHMS, and if you look at the BHMS curriculum, we have it divided into theory as well as clinical exposure. Now if you see the theory papers, there are subjects called anatomy, physiology, pathology, that includes microbiology, bacteriology, parasitology, and so on and so forth. These are all the main subjects which are even being taught to MBBS doctors. So apart from these main subjects, what we have been taught is organon of medicine, materia medica, repertory, and homeopathic therapeutics. These are rather 4 homeopathic subjects which are taught to us, along with the other subjects which are taught to MBBS doctors. Now if you consider the clinical exposure, what we usually get, our hospital clinic starts from 2nd BHMS onwards, and we have 1 full year of internship, full-time internship. So our course is also equivalent to MBBS as per the GR passed by the government, and it is 4.5 plus 1, that is equal to 5.5 years of course. If you compare how we treat patients, now why I am telling you this, because it is very important and it is very crucial for you to know that how I have arrived at this particular topic. There are a couple of individuals, they call me and they wonder that how come being an homeopath you're talking on topics which are related to psychology, psychiatry. So here I would like to tell you that whenever we receive a case, so far I've started my practice in say January 1993, and since then I've taken n number of cases, maybe more than 10,000 or even more. So for each and every patient we have to follow a guideline to receive their case. So if you look at the pro forma, what we take from the case is the preliminary details, presenting complaints, past history, family history, personal history, and emotional state and life situation, systemic examination, investigation, diagnosis, and management. This is what is the case pro forma which we deal with each and every patient. Now if you compare this pro forma with another say MBBS doctor or an MD or even a DM, even they also take the same pro forma except for the emotional state and life situation. So as homeopaths, we are trained specifically to receive the case or receive the patient details, and they are listed under emotional state and life situation. I hope many of you might have visited a homeopathic doctor, and during the first consultation the homeopathic doctors ask you about what kind of stress you are suffering from, how is your behavioral pattern, and intricate detail about your life, your likings in food, your likings in life and all. So all that stuff, all that information what we collect from the patient is listed under the heading emotional state and life situation. Whenever we list under this particular heading, so far whatever number of cases I've taken, I've received, I got to know all these details from all these 10,000 plus patients, their life situation and emotional state. So going through all these emotional states and going through all their emotional status, it's like you're listening to each story every now and then when you receive a new case. So we have collection of a huge database which relates to emotional complaints or emotional symptoms. And whenever retrospectively I analyze them, I have found that stress is a major factor which plays a very pivotal role in giving rise to any kind of infection or any kind of disease. So I thought that why not we work on stress? As it is, I'm giving homeopathic medicine, homeopathic treatment, but let me work on stress. And I was very much keen to educate my patient about their life situation, about their lifestyle, and how they think about it. Thus, we started giving this workshops and seminars. So that is why it is very crucial to know that since I've got this background and since we have been collecting information from patients about their life situation, about their emotional state, we have a lot of compilation of data, and that led us to this particular topic to be discovered. Uma, while introducing me, mentioned about my fascination for the WHO's definition of health. I would like you to go through this WHO definition of health. So in 1946, whenever at that time when WHO, World Health Organization, was actually registered, they have the organization based on a specific definition of health. As you all know that each and every organization has an objective. Unless and until there exists an objective, the organization cannot exist. So for World Health Organization to exist in the world till date, of late during the pandemic we have been hearing about World Health Organization quite often. So they have based their objective on this particular definition, which says that health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being, and not merely absence of a disease or infirmity. What does it mean by? It means that even if you are not having any complaints or any symptoms or any signs, that does not mean that you are healthy. Now, of late there have been discussion by a couple of allopathic doctors or a couple of modern medicine physicians that this is a very ambitious definition. It is practically impossible to achieve this definition in real life. But I am very happy to state that for homeopaths, for homeopathy, this definition is really achievable. In the sense, since we deal with the life situation of the patient, since we ask the patient about their emotional states, we can definitely heal the patient for their emotional derangement or emotional ill health. With that, we can achieve the state of mental as well as social well-being. Whenever we are going to consider about striking the appropriate balance between work and life, we need to consider this definition because we are going to deal with the mental health or emotional health of each and every individual. That is why I have presented this definition today. So remember these few words: physical, mental and social, and we are going to deal with mental health in this particular session with regards to balancing the work and life balance. Whenever you're going to consider striking the balance, achieving, that is, the target is of achieving mental health. What are we going to do? What do you mean by mental health? Most of us, even when I learned for the first time, I was not aware what are the parameters of being mentally healthy. Now, you must be wondering that is there a report which you can generate from a pathologist or from a radiologist or from a psychiatrist or from a psychologist who gives you a one-pager report saying that this is what it is, this is how your mind is working, and this is where there is a problem, and this problem is connected to your chronic disease, or this problem is connected to your acute disease. Nobody will give you this kind of one-pager medical report of your mind. But as a homeopath we do. So we are going to deal with it, how we are going to give you a report of your mind. Yeah. Then whenever we intend to achieve balance, we must learn about mind a little bit in depth, because unless and until we know what exactly is mind, what exactly mind is all about, we will not able to grasp that how are you going to strike the appropriate balance between our work and life. So whenever we are going to now, as we are going to learn about mind, we are going to travel from birth to death so that we understand mind in depth at all the stages of life. Yeah, I hope I'm very clear and you're able to listen to me what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes, sir, we are.
Yeah. At birth, what happens? The baby is just born, and what happens at the beginning when the baby is born? The baby starts crying. Very funny. We enjoy our life, and when a baby is born, the baby cries. Why the baby cries? Everybody might have heard this complete, concept that, doctor says that, yeah, baby cried. That means the baby is very much healthy. Why baby cries? Because our lungs, whenever the baby is in the womb, the lungs are collapsed and they are completely in a collapsed state. Whenever the baby is born, the lungs expand for the first time. Whenever the lungs expand, that gives certain pain in the chest. So the baby cries because of the chest pain experienced by the baby due to inflation of the lungs, which were compactly packed within the chest cavity. So surprisingly, when the person is born, what we experience for the first time is the senses. We experience pain in the chest. As a baby, as a newborn, we experience pain in the chest, and due to which the baby cries. If the baby doesn't cry, or if the baby fails to cry, then a lot more things goes around, and the obstetrician is quite tense, and then he calls the pediatrician why the baby is not crying, because at times the lungs will not expand and the baby will not cry, and then at that time you have to examine whether the baby is alive or dead. So we must note interestingly that this is the first sense of coming into this existence in this particular world, that we experience chest pain. Then comes the baby is alive, and then baby looks here, there, the baby observes all the surroundings and the baby is awake. So then this stage has been called as conscious state. This conscious state is further divided into awake state, REM sleep, and deep sleep. You might have seen that newborn babies sleep for a longer period of time. Almost half of the day they are just sleeping. So in the initial stages, since they are developing, they are they are experiencing REM sleep as well as deep sleep. REM sleep is meant by rapid eyeball moving sleep. That means during that phase of sleep, people or we usually experience dreams, or if our bladder is full, we get a sense that our bladder is full during this REM sleep state. Whenever we are into deep sleep state, we don't experience anything. We are into deep sleep state, and then our tissues as well as body is rejuvenating, and then we are kind of re-energizing ourselves. So when the baby is born, there are two things which are noticed. One is senses, the sense of pain, and second one is consciousness. What comes next? Whenever the baby is born, whenever the baby is awake, the mother is the first teacher of the baby, who tries to teach the baby, अरे ये देखो ये क्या है, fan है, ये क्या है, who am I am your mother, I am your mom. So the education goes on slowly for the baby, and then moral values are being taught. So what happens? Whenever we teach something to the baby tries to comprehend. Whatever little memory the baby has, it tries to comprehend. So the baby will remember that, yeah, this lady is my mother. So whenever the baby sees his her mother, the baby will smile. Then comes what? Moral values. So whenever the baby is thumb sucking, the parents say no thumb sucking. So slowly the baby tries to recollect, or slowly the baby tries to memorize the things what have been taught to the baby, and thus the memory comes into the picture. What comes next? All these things, the comprehension, the memory is inherited. That means our ancestors, our grandparents, our parents, whatever genes they have, or whatever inheritance or whatever genetic makeup they have, similarly the same kind of makeup is being developed by the baby. We go further then during the age of 13 to 18, it's the teenage. So what do you experience during the teenage? There are many clashes taking place between the parents and the teenage kids, because they are, they feel that they are well grown now. They don't need any kind of support, or they don't need any kind of admonition or firing from the parents. They know everything in the world. And the parents say, अरे ये तो अभी तक बच्चा है, ये तो कुछ जानता नहीं बराबर. Then I should teach the baby in a proper sense. इसलिए उनके दोनों के बीच में एक टसल होते रहता है, and then that tussle gives rise to irritability within the adolescent person, and their emotions are at peak during this particular stage of 13 years to 18. Their emotions are at peak. They are angry, they have their own ego and fears, then happiness, pity, sadness, surprise, and all these emotions are being seen during this particular phase, and we come across emotions. What comes next is 18 years. So when it comes to 18 years, just imagine that you being of 18 years, what comes first to your mind? Yeah, wow, I am now going to be 18 years. I will be able to see all adult movies, as well as I'll get the right to vote. The right to vote is very important, and legally it is the age which is considered in India that you are mature enough to understand, and you are mature enough to make your own decision on your own. Yeah. So at the age of 18 years we get right to vote, and that means that we have a developed will. Now whenever we talk about will, the first thing what comes to our mind is the will which has been signed, or will which has been prepared by a person after his death, what will happen to his property. But as far as our today's presentation is concerned, I am not referring to that will. I am not referring to that legal document which usually people prepare after their death. How will they disseminate their property? We are speaking about Ichha. Marathi we call Ichha Shakti. So it's the will what we are talking about. I hope I am very clear. You can, if at all you have any questions, do write down, and do share those questions at the end of the session. I'll try and handle all those questions one by one. What we have dealt with at the age of 18 and above, the will is completely developed. Between 13 and 18, the emotions are at peak. Then we have an intellect. What we know about intellect is the comprehension, the senses, and the consciousness, what comes in the intellect, and memory. So these are the factors, or these are the components of human mind which we have dealt with into their existence, how they came into existence during our birth till the age of 18 years of age. Once you are 18, then these factors remain with you, and you continue experiencing these factors. So and these factors are based on your genetic inheritance. And suppose if we have a graph of these factors, so on one axis it's the time, and on other axis the other factors like home, work, money, relations, events, food. So whenever we deal about these two axes, we are living day-to-day living, and the time is going by, and during this particular time we experience food, we experience our home, we experience our work, we experience, or we actually utilize and save money, we have relations to play with, there are multiple events happening. So let us organize these components of mind in a very particular way. So cognition is a kind of connective kind of thing which connects to all these particular 4 components which I have listed here. Now whenever we consider all these factors, if a person is very much satisfied and if the person is very happy, then that has been called that he is in a complete state of mental well-being. So whatever we have dealt in the definition, the WHO's definition of health about mental well-being, this is what has been the target: satisfied and happy being, or satisfied and happy individual, which is called as a healthy individual. Now this particular format, will on the top, then comes emotion, then comes intellect, then comes memory. So all this format has been taught to us in the subject called repertory during our 4th year of BHMS, and we have been taught to collect all the information from the patient with regards to the mind, emotions, and life situation of the patient, and then we list all those symptoms and all this information in this sequence so that we get a complete picture of the patient. And with this picture we can select homeopathic remedies. Now you might have been seeing homeopathic cures even during the COVID times, where whatever patients I've treated using homeopathic medicines, many of the patients I've dealt with this particular features. So as it varies from individual to individual. In certain individuals the will be very much prominent. In certain individuals the emotions will be prominent. In certain individuals the intellect will be so much so prominent that they don't care about what's happening. They know that they believe in science and they know what's happening all around, so they are not at all bothered for the fear of the infection. And then all these experiences based on our will, based on our emotions, and based on our intellect are stored in a database, emotional database, what we call as memory. In Hindi or Marathi we call Smaran or Smaran Shakti. So let us further go ahead. So I have discovered this technique called Vim. Now what exactly is Vim? We are going to deal about it. So from will I have taken W, from emotion I have taken E, from intellect I have taken the first letter I, and from the memory I have taken the first letter M. Now let us see what exactly is Vim all about. Yeah. So whenever we receive a case, we analyze the patient from the perspective what exactly is the patient's will, then what exactly are the patient's emotion, and what exactly is the intellectual capability of the patient, and how the patient's memory is. So this is what we call music of living. I hope you agree with me that this is what is called music of living, and I denote or I label this the whole complete picture of a person or of an individual in terms of Vim. Yeah. So let us go further ahead. Now when I say that this is what is the Vim, or this Vim or will, emotion, intellect, memory has been used by all the homeopaths globally in the same fashion. And beyond, now we know that people say that mind is huge, mind is vast, it's unfathomable. We cannot see the beginning and the end of mind. But homeopathically we say that mind is all about will, emotion, intellect and memory. Next slide I am denoting that this is Vim, and I am saying that I am giving you a challenge. All those attendees of today's webinar, you have been challenged by me that you are going to retrospect yourself, you are going to see others' behavioral pattern in day-to-day living, and you're going to come back and you're going to challenge me that Dr. Pradhan, what you told us, Vim is not all about the mind. There is something else other than Vim also exists. So I am very happy to deal with this kind of messages from you, and you should accept this challenge. Let's see if you can discover something new with regards to human mind. Yeah. So let's move ahead. Now when it comes to music, how do we listen to the music? How do we enjoy music? Always when we enjoy music, we have a music equalizer. We make certain balances when we listen to music. Similarly, when we are talking about striking the appropriate balance between work and life, we need to adjust these equalizers. Now what kind of equalizers we are going to adjust? Now we are going to adjust equalizer called will, we are going to adjust an equalizer called emotions, we are going to adjust an equalizer called intellect, we are going to adjust equalizer called memory. So in this presentation henceforth, or ahead about from this slide onwards, we are going to deal with how I'm going to deal with this equalizers called the Vim equalizer. Yeah, I think everything is clear. I am audible and you can view the slides very clearly. Yeah, thank you, Uma.
Yes, sir.
So now let us understand, or let us analyze the Vim of lockdown. Now we are having this virtual webinar, or otherwise we would have a physical present webinar, or a kind of a session where I am actually lively delivering this lecture to you in front of you. But we are in a kind of lockdown situation. So if you analyze our will during the lockdown, our emotions during the lockdown, our intellect during the lockdown, and our memory during the lockdown. This is what is my analysis. Your will, you are interested to go out, you are interested to venture out, you are fed up of sitting idle at home. What are your emotions? You're very sad that you cannot go out. And what is your intellect? That if I go out, I'll get the COVID infection. And what is your memory during this particular lockdown period? In the initial stages, everybody enjoy, work from home. You are at home only all the time. But now later on, this memory with regards to lockdown is suffocated feeling. You are restricted. When we talk about animals, we talk about the behavioral pattern of animals during captivity. Now, we being human being, we are experiencing that kind of captivity what the animals experience when they are captured in the cage. So then we have a memory suffocated feeling, restricted feeling. I hope you all agree. If you don't agree, just please note down whatever questions you have pertaining to any of the slides. Yeah. Now, if you take one individual, each individual has 4 roles. Now there can be many roles, but I have listed 4 roles here to give an example so that you understand better how we are going to relate this concept of WIM with work and life balance. If you take any individual, they have their behavioral pattern at workplace. Either that person is a manager or an employee, or that person is founder or an employer. Employer in the sense founder, in the sense director or CEO or CFO or whatever designation the person is having. And second, at home, the person, if I relate to myself, I am a son, I am a father, and I am a husband. And if you look at this right hand side figure, I have had a jigsaw puzzle on my slide. So you have these 4 roles, you being at workplace, you being a son, you being a father, you being a husband. Now this is a kind of jigsaw puzzle of life, wherever you are going to mismatch, or rather we are going to match all these pieces of life together in one balanced format. If you have a jigsaw puzzle properly solved, that means you have a balance of work and life relationship. So let us consider this in depth ahead. Now let us analyze the will, emotion, intellect and memory of a manager or of an employee working at a workplace. Now what is the will? That I have to achieve target. The moment I achieve target, I am going to get a kind of promotion, or I will get some hike in my salary. What are the emotions? Very much anxious to achieve the targets, because if I can achieve the target, my will is going to get satisfied. My desire that I want increment, my desire that I want promotion, my desire that I want some authority, it is going to get satisfied if I achieve my target. So the employee is anxious and he is behind achieving that particular target. What is his intellect? Whatever skills he has learned. Say for example, if you have a software engineer, whatever scripting, programming that particular person is doing, he has that in as his intellect. Whatever is his memory, his performance in earlier quarters, or whatever milestones he had earlier, maybe in the earlier job or whatever education he had, or whatever memory he has about his skills. Yeah. Now if you consider this stage of being, now whenever we are going to consider WIM, we have to label, or we have to find out which of the component is out of control for that particular individual. Suppose, say for example, whenever we see a patient, we have to identify कि ये जो बता रहा है, मुझे सब केस दे रहा है, लेकिन इसका प्रॉब्लम क्या है, कहाँ पे है, where does the problem for this particular person lies. That is where is my homeopathic remedy is. So whenever I am questioning the person, whenever I am receiving the case of the patient, my mind keeps on thinking कि इसका प्रॉब्लम क्या है, इसका प्रॉब्लम विल है, इसका प्रॉब्लम इमोशंस है, इसका प्रॉब्लम इंटेलेक्ट है, या इसका प्रॉब्लम मेमोरी है. कभी कभार ऐसे होता है कि द पर्सन इज नॉट एबल टू ग्रास्प और व्हाट आई एम एग्जैक्टली आस्किंग हिम. So that means his intellect is not to the extent that he can explain me all his personal details in a very nice way. So then accordingly we infer upon a case and we select a particular specific remedy for that particular given case. So for an employee, if we consider that he has a lot of emotions, though he has will, what is predominant in his whim is the emotion and intellect. Rest two components are a little bit, are downplayed. I hope you all agree. If you don't agree, do write a question and do ask me at the end of the session. Now this is what is about the employee. Now what is about the founder or an employer? What is his will? Get return on investment. Why? Because I have made an investment and I must get the return of my investment. As well, I must earn more so that I can save that particular amount. I can reinvest in a new business. What are his emotions? He is excited, as the business unfolds to a newer levels. The founder is excited that his concept, he has proven whatever concept he has got for his business. What is his intellect? He himself is putting in efforts. Whatever skills he has, his own skills, he is putting in those skills, and he is constantly for the search of talent. And what is his memory? The number of rupees or the amount what he has invested and the balance which he has to strike for getting the return on investment and then actually earning the amount. Now, if you consider the predominant component, what is predominant in founder or the director or a CEO? Mostly the will, because he don't have emotion. He is a business oriented person and he is very much firm in his will, and he'll see to it that how do he get the return on investment. Yeah, whenever you put both across the table, so you have a founder, employer, as well as you have an employee, a manager, or who is the one who is working. Who supersedes? Quite often the employer supersedes because he is having an upper hand and he is controlling everything for the employee. Yeah, I hope you all agree with this. Whenever you consider this particular role as an employee or as a manager, what supersedes? Because of the supersedation or because of the predominance of the founder, the employee is more emotional, more anxious, because he needs recognition from the boss all the time, that whatever performance he have been doing or whatever efforts he has been taking should be appreciated from the boss. So he has the emotions very much predominant in his mind. So this is what is the whim of both the employee as well as the employer. When the individual comes home, what do he expect? He expects, his will is, he desires he should take rest, he should enjoy, and his emotion, he is happy because being at home, he is calm and composed. Intellect, maybe at home he is very free to access social media, which is the norm right now, and his memory about home is pleasant. Now whenever this person comes home, he has this particular whim, will, emotion, intellect and memory. So this is what he anticipates to be whenever he is at home. Now just out of the time constraint, I have not evolved further for the whim of his parents. Now we are talking about, say, person X. Now father of person X, now he's parent or he's father of person Y, and he's husband of Mrs. A. So we should consider whim of all these three roles or all these three persons. So what are their expectation from this individual? So this is our patient, or this is our individual we are dealing with, who has worked maybe 10 hours a day and now come home to take rest, to enjoy and to be calm and quiet. And now there are three other people who has expectation from this person, the same way what the boss has an expectation from this person in the office. So whenever you have, as what we compared for the employee and employer kind of supersedation or tussle about the whim, we should also consider, or whenever homeopathically we take a case, we also consider those interpersonal relationship amongst the family members, and then how those relations are taking toll on this particular individual. So I'm just giving you an example. Now let's see about what happens when there is an imbalance. Jigsaw puzzle, those earlier when the jigsaw puzzle was properly knit all together, all the components properly fit together, Now it's a bit messed up. You find that these puzzles are separated from each other. They are not entangled in each other. Then they're actually, one piece is opposite direction, one piece is another direction, another is another. So it's all haywire. What comes when this kind of state is experienced from the person? It leads to stress. In short, we are going to consider what stress is all about. Now, this is what is the cause of stress, because this particular individual has 4 roles to play, one in the office and three more roles to play at home. And this individual has his own will, this individual has own emotion, intellect, memory. As well, he has got to deal with 4 other people who themselves have their own will, emotion, intellect and memory. And whenever they interact with each other, what interacts with each other, we don't see anything in the air happening. We don't see actual hands moving, or we don't see anything, everybody pushing around and all that thing. But what interacts is will, emotion, intellect and memory of one person with another person. So obviously 4 people having expectation from this one person, and if this person is trying to fulfill expectation for all of the 4 people he is dealing with, what he'll end up in? Stress. What is stress all about? So this is a kind of key state where we find that work and life imbalance. Now quite often you might have experienced that कुछ समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा है, लाइफ तो चले जा रहा है, दिन तो बीत रहे, अभी तक टारगेट तो नज़दीक ही नहीं दिख रहा है, फिर भी ऊपर से प्रेशर है, घर पे आओ तो घर की किचकिच चालू है, बच्चा कुछ और मांगता है, पिताजी कुछ और मांगते हैं, वाइफ कुछ और बोलती है, and all that thing is constantly going on. So what is stress? It's the gap between our expectation and reality. So for this individual, what is his expectation? That he wants to fulfill expectation of all 4 people he is dealing with, and in reality, physically it is not possible for him to deliver all those expectations for all these 4 people, and then he is ended up with stress. Another aspect of this particular angle is more the gap, more the stress. Now in future slides, what we're going to deal with is we are going to try and reduce this gap, so that once we reduce this gap, obviously the expectations are going to get matched with each other, and the stress for this individual is going to go down. Stress with regards to whim. Now you have an expectation, you can equate the expectation with desire, that is your will. Then you have me plus something or me plus someone is equal to happiness. Now we are dealing and we are talking about your definition and your perception of happiness, or the individual whom we are examining, his perception of happiness. So whenever you see कि मेरे को खुशी कभी होएगी, अगर ये सवाल आप अपने से पूछते हो कि मुझे खुशी कभी होएगी, तो कभी होएगी जब भी मैं हूँ और मेरे एक्सपेक्टेशंस फुलफिल हो रहे तो मैं खुश रहूँगा, या मैं हूँ मुझे कोई चीज़ चाहिए, जैसे मुझे एक अच्छी खासी गाड़ी चाहिए, अगर वो गाड़ी मुझे मिल गई तो मैं खुश हो जाऊँगा। मैं हूँ अगर मेरे साथ अगर मेरा फ्रेंड आता है, मेरे से बातचीत करता है तो मैं खुश हो जाऊँगा। सो दिस इज़ व्हाट is that you plus somebody is equal to happiness or satisfaction. So that means the individual as well as each one of us is dependent on somebody else outside for enjoying that kind of happiness. I hope you all agree with this, and if you don't, do write in a form of a question. I will like to answer at the end of the session. Now what is the key to strike appropriate balance between work and life? That is what is the talk all about. First thing is, if you really want to do your whim, yes, we are there. Professionally, we can help you out. But if you want to be independent, you must introspect yourself, and then you must think about your own behavioral pattern, how the things go on, how you are dealing with these 4 people, and how you are managing your own goals with regards to these 4 people. When you do a proper introspection, you can obviously come out with the analysis in the form of whim. Then apply your emotional intelligence, in the sense you have done your own whim, you have done your own introspection, and then you have your own will, emotion, intellect, memory listed on a piece of paper. You need to do the same thing for the others. You are dealing with 4 other people, so you need to analyze 4 other people, how are they dealing with you? What is their will? What is their emotion? What is their intellect? What is their memory? All that thing you need to list down, and you have to apply emotional intelligence, which is currently a trending kind of concept that is labeled as emotional intelligence. And then you need to repair a switch. What do I mean by switch? Now there are people, whenever we take stress management workshop, say for example in any organization, quite often employees complain that अरे साहब आप तो बोलते हो स्ट्रेस ऑफिस में छोड़ के आओ, एक बार घर पे आएंगे तो अच्छा खासा घर एंजॉय करो. पॉसिबल नहीं है हमारे लिए. मतलब क्या हो गया भाई, क्यों पॉसिबल नहीं है? नहीं यार, रात को कभी भी कॉल आता है वर्कशॉप से कि वर्क फ्लोर पे ये प्रॉब्लम है एंड देन यू नीड टू अटेंड दैट प्रॉब्लम. सो I quite often tell them that you need to have a good switch. Whenever you are at home, you are going to switch off your office completely. You are not going to bother about your office. You are not going to bother about your workplace. The reverse way, whenever you are at office, you are going to switch off your home. You are not going to bother about what your kid is going to do, how your kid is going to perform in his exam. All that thing needs to be switched off. So we often denote to that proper switch. If the switch has a loose connection, you will have thoughts coming in at workplace from home, and whenever you are at home from workplace. Now another common question which usually the employees ask that अरे लेकिन साहब हमें तो कॉल आता है, आप तो बोल रहे हैं भूल जाओ. कैसे भूल जाए? रात को 2 बजे अगर मुझे कोई जगाता है कि फ्लोर पे ऑफिस में फ्लोर पे ऐसा ऐसा प्रॉब्लम हो गया, तो मैं कैसे सोऊं बाद में? तो तभी भी I often tell them that you have to have a proper switch even at 2 o'clock at night. You attend that call. I'm not saying that you don't attend the call. You just switch off your mobile. I'm not advising you to do that you switch off your phone call or you keep it on silent and don't attend. I'm telling you that you attend that call. You give proper solution to the caller who is calling you for a solution. And once you have disconnected the call, you switch off. At that time the switch again should be powerful enough to switch you off from the office thoughts and enter into deep sleep and then enjoy sleep. That is what I relate to about switch. I hope you have understood this concept of switch. Ideal and very classic switch on and switch off is required. Wherever you are required to perform, you need to switch on your all capabilities for that given condition, and whenever you are not going to perform for a particular specific situation, you need to switch off. Then comes the golden mean. सुवर्ण मध्य देखना है आपको किसी और के एक्सपेक्टेशन का और एक्चुअल रियलिटी का. So we often tell the employers and we often tell the founder members of the company that whenever you set target, you set realistic goals. Don't set something which nobody can achieve, because you need to give them some confidence. You need to give them, the employees, some satisfaction that they have achieved their goal. Keep it a little bit steep, but give a realistic goal. So that is why I mean that expectation and reality should have a golden mean. It should not, the gap between the expectation and reality should not be very large so that it cannot be fulfilled. Then comes key to strike appropriate balance between work and life. So whenever we talk about the equalizer, will, emotion, intellect, memory, and use the Wim equalizer to enjoy music of living. How do you do that? Whenever you jot down on a piece of paper what exactly is your will, what exactly is your emotion, intellect and memory, the same way when you jot down on a piece of paper what exactly is the Wim of your other 4 individuals and your other 4 role makers, and then you need to analyze and assess yourself that where I am going out of proportion. In the sense, now I am sitting in a closed room. If I get something moving on below my legs, I will start shrieking that there's a snake. But in reality, whenever I am in this enclosed room maybe on a 2nd or 3rd floor, that's practically not possible to have a snake below my leg. So that will be, if I react like that, suppose if some kind of piece of paper because of air and comes on rest on my leg, and if I react as if there is a snake on my leg, that will be an out of proportion reaction to the reality. So whenever you jot down your will, emotion, intellect, memory, you need to assess yourself that where you are going out of the way, and where you are, crossing that thin line and you are reacting out of proportion to the reality. And then consciously being aware of your own self, you have to adjust that particular level. If your will is very strong, if you are trying to go on the moon practically having nothing in your hand, which is your will is out of proportion. So you need to control your will, you need to control your emotions, you need to control your aversions and desires in such a way that they match with the reality. If you are too much emotional, now you have seen a news where your neighbor or somebody in your family or somebody in your neighborhood has expired out of this particular infection, and then you are crying, weeping all the time. 2 days you are just crying. That again is out of proportion response to the reality. Yes, we do agree that the person has really expired, but then you should control yourself rationally. You should rationalize the reasons why the person expired and then control your own emotions. The same applies to intellect. Quite often we feel that we have done our best, but still we lack in somewhere, so that is a time where you should improvise on your skills. Quite often if we are lacking in our skills, we are lacking, or our intellect is not to that extent to cope up with the goals given to us. So you need to uplift your skills, you need to uplift your intellect. Then comes to memory. Memory, we have you don't have a direct control in your memory, but then when it comes to memory, what I am relating to, suppose, say for example, you are leaving yourself or you are thinking all the time about your past incidences, that oh this happened to me, oh that happened to me, oh this should not have had happened, ऐसा हो गया वैसा हो गया, इधर गया तो वो मिला, उसने वो गलत बोला, मेरे को ऐसा बॉस ने इस तरफ से फायर किया. So that means you are relating, or you are always in your memory. So whenever you want to adjust this equalizer, you should be focusing on your palms. Whatever your palms are doing at the moment, you should focus. What do I mean by that? That you should be always remain in present. You should not go back in your memory lane. As well, you should not run ahead of your memory lane कि मैं ऐसा टारगेट अचीव करूँगा, फिर ऐसा मेरा बॉस अप्रिशिएट करेगा, फिर ऐसा मेरे को इंक्रीमेंट मिलेगा, फिर मैं ऐसा फ्लैट लूँगा, फिर मैं ऐसी कार लूँगा, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. सो दिस इज व्हाट is related to your memory. You need to remain in your present. So the equalizer adjustment for memory, what I mean by that, you need to be in the present tense and not in the past or future tense. I hope the things are clear, and the key to striking the appropriate balance, I'm able to guide you properly. What comes next is being honest to self as well as to world. Just imagine that you have told some lies to couple of people, with regards to your own status. You told somebody, अरे मैंने तो वो फ्लैट खरीद लिया है. इन रियलिटी आपने तो अभी तक पैसा भी नहीं भरा है. लेकिन किसी एक को बोला मैंने तो फ्लैट खरीद लिया, किसी एक को बोला अरे नहीं मेरा पहला इंस्टॉलमेंट गया है, किसी तीसरे को बोला तीसरा गया है. तो यू आर नॉट ऑनेस्ट विद द रेस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. तो क्या होएगा? जब ये 3-4 लोग आपको दिखेंगे तो आपको याद करना पड़ेगा, अरे इसको मैंने क्या बोला, इसको मैंने क्या बोला, इसको मैंने क्या बोला है. बिकॉज you have a constant fear of getting yourself exposed in front of these 4 people to whom you have told about your own status. You have an exalted fancy of your own status as if you are somebody एकदम बड़े आदमी हो और आपने बड़े आदमी के हिसाब से सब कुछ सबको खिरापत बांटी है, और वो खिरापत बांटने के बाद में वो you are trying to maintain to that particular level. So that will put you on a lot of stress. Your will, emotion, intellect, memory will go at the toss. And to hide that particular thing, you'll have to take a lot of efforts. And then that is also not a healthy state of being. So you need to be, very much honest to yourself. You need to jot down what exactly conspires in your mind in a very honest way. As well, you need to be honest to your rest of the world. Now, when it comes to honesty, I'll again relate it to one more thing. I've seen a couple of spiritual gurus talking about that, whenever you talk about work and life balance, it's really not required. Because if you really love your work, that is your life. So you should love your work, and then why are you separating, two things separate, work separate, life separate? Your work is itself is your life. Then in that case also, I will tell you that you should be honest to yourself. I agree that each and every one of us is not that lucky to have been in the same profession what they desired to be or they had an ambition of. But then try and enjoy your work in such a way, in a very honest way, so that you don't have any differentiating factor between work and life. You should have 100% transparency. So whatever, in Marathi we have a phrase called चावायचे दात आणि दाखवायचे दात. So when I talk about 100% transparency, I am telling you that चबाने के दांत और दिखाने के दांत सेम होने चाहिए, अलग अलग नहीं रहने चाहिए. अगर अलग अलग रहेंगे तो वो अलग अलग पर्सन को अलग अलग दिखाने के लिए every time you have to have some kind of efforts to be done. This is what we have to arrange the jigsaw puzzle of will, emotion, intellect and memory. Initially you just have to align your roles. So you have 4 roles to play, 1 at workplace and 3 roles at home. So you have to align them in such a way that they can entangle themselves in a proper sense. Align your roles. Then comes actually jigsaw puzzle को एक साथ properly लगा देना है. वो roles को in a such a way लगाना है कि कोई एकदम haywire नहीं है, hanky panky roles नहीं है. And then what it leads to? Satisfaction. So what happiness, what enjoy, what excitement we talk about, at the end of the day it's satisfaction. So I'll give you an example that you might have come across 2 days in your life. One day where कुछ काम नहीं था, आराम किया ऑफिस में, लेकिन at the end of the day when you came home, somebody said कि अरे चलो जरा घूम के आते हैं. तो बोला नहीं यार, घूमने कहा जाना नहीं है, बहुत बोर हो गया मैं आज. Second day where you have had a hectic day, you have no time to even breathe. The same day evening when you come back and somebody says चल ना यार जरा घूम के आते हैं, तो you will still हाँ चलो है, मेरे पास एनर्जी है आज, चलो घूम के आते हैं. So there are 2 days. So one day where you have no satisfaction as well because you have not done any work, you have been just sitting idle. And the second day where you have done a lot of work, you have done a lot of achievement in your office work and you are very much satisfied. So if you consider energy level at the end of these 2 days, you will find a drastic difference. So a day 1 where you have no work or less work, at that time you have not enjoyed your work. And day 2 you have a lot of work to do in the office and you have enjoyed your work thoroughly and really. So that is why you have a lot of energy at the end of the day. Yeah. So this is what all about satisfaction. So how do you assess effectiveness? Whatever I have dealt with, whatever I have spoken to you, so is it effective? So the equation to assess is satisfaction quotient. You should jot down your satisfaction quotient. What is that? The period of satisfied living divided by the period of unsatisfied living. Whenever at the end of the day you do retrospection, you just imagine that throughout the day for how much time you were unsatisfied. कि नहीं यार क्या चल रहा है यार, this is not on. ऐसा फीलिंग कभी था, कितने टाइम था, और अरे वाह क्या अच्छा चल रहा है सब कुछ, ऐसा फीलिंग कितने टाइम था. अगर डिवाइड करते हो एक दूसरे से तो आपको मिलता है satisfaction quotient. So you have to work on the unsatisfied living जो period है उसको 0 करना है. So anything divided by 0 is infinity. So you have to work on this equation that your satisfaction quotient is infinite and you are satisfied about your life, you are satisfied about your work as well as with your relations, whatever your relations you are having with your parents, spouse, kids and other relations. Yeah, I think I am very clear and things are clear to you. Now when you achieve this satisfaction, what comes? This satisfaction releases an enzyme in the brain which is called as endorphin. What is endorphin? Medical research has proved that whenever you have endorphins secreted in your brain, these endorphins are natural morphines. In the sense, we take crocin. Say for example, you have temperature and you take crocin or paracetamol. and you have a kind of sense of well-being. So whenever you have complete satisfaction in your work as well as in your life, that satisfaction stimulates your brain in such a way that it releases a chemical which is medically labeled as endorphin. And whenever endorphins are secreted in your brain, they act as painkillers, in the sense your pain completely disappears. So if we relate back to those 2 days, one unsatisfaction and second satisfaction, the second day whenever you have a lot of energy, that energy is because of secretion of endorphins in your brain. Since there are endorphins in your brain, they have killed all your exhaustion throughout the day, and you have a lot of energy even at the end of the day. So this is what these concepts have been supported medically also. I'm telling you all these facts in for past an hour or so. Is that so easy? That's what is a question which will come to your mind. And quite often people say, अरे क्या आपने तो बता दिया, व्हील करना है, विम करना है, आसान है क्या? So let's deal with that question. So each and everything, अगर आप just enroll करोगे जिम में तो थोड़ी आपकी बॉडी बनने वाली है. आप नहीं, बॉडी तो बनेगी नहीं. आपने सिर्फ एनरोलमेंट पेमेंट किया है, पैसा भरा है. तो वैसे ही आज का जो 1 घंटा आपने मुझे दिया है, दैट इज़ योर एनरोलमेंट फीस. आपका जो 1 घंटा आपने ग्रीन एम्स फाउंडेशन को दिया है, वो आपका एक इन्वेस्टमेंट है. आपने एक टोकन अमाउंट इन्वेस्ट किया है और आपको इसके ऊपर काम करना है तो ही इसका आपको फ़ायदा होने वाला है. सो today's is a level 1 where you are seeking professional help from me to have your work and life in a balanced way. Then you keep on practicing all this concept. If you have questions, you can write back to me, you can get in touch with me anytime. I'll try and help you out. That will be a level 1. Then some days pass by and then you are quite struggling all with this WIM and everything, and till that time you are not successful, you can use common methods, physical methods. What do I mean by that? Whenever you say common methods, physical methods, common method is like, you have to completely make your mind blind. How do you do that? So whenever we focus our mind on any particular thing or any item, तो वो जो चीज़ है जिसके ऊपर आप ध्यान लगा रहे हो, मेडिटेट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, वो चीज़ न्यूट्रल रहनी चाहिए. कैसे न्यूट्रल? अगर न्यूट्रल रहेगी तो ही आप एकदम, आपका जो पीस ऑफ माइंड है वो आ पाएगा. जैसा अपना ब्रेथ है, इफ़ यू आर कॉन्सेंट्रेटिंग ऑन योर ब्रेथ, इनहेलेशन है, एक्सलेशन है, देन breath is a very neutral thing. There is nothing, no emotion, no memory, related to breath, except for the childhood memory. As what I told, the first breath of life is the cry, but otherwise it's a neutral thing. Or say example, you look outside and from the window, a lot of greenery is there. लेकिन अगर आपने कभी कहा किसी को सुसाइड देखा है, कहीं किसी ने टांग दिया है पेड़ पे, तो वो न्यूट्रल नहीं है. वो चीज़ न्यूट्रल नहीं हो सकती. पेड़ के लिए आपके दिमाग में एक निगेटिव मेमोरी है. तो आपको ये चीज़ ढूंढनी है कि एक न्यूट्रल चीज़ या बहुत सारी न्यूट्रल चीज़ें ढूंढनी है जिसके ऊपर आप अपना ध्यान लगा सके और उसके ऊपर आप सोच सके, ताकि आप जो भी इमोशंस आपके मन में चल रहे हैं उससे बाहर आ पाए. तो ये एक है कॉमन मेथड, मैंने जो बता दिया आपको. दूसरी है फिजिकल मेथड, जिसे हम कहते हैं योगा. योगा बहुत ही अच्छा है. अगर आप प्राणायाम करो, योगासन करो, तो that is also a very neutral thing. Whenever you are doing yoga, you are focusing your mind as well as you are attempting to achieve a kind of physical balance out of a neutral thing. Just because you are focusing and you are involved in an activity which deals with neutral things, you don't have any emotions playing on whenever you are doing yoga. Or you play a game like table tennis है या बैडमिंटन है, स्विमिंग है, any game which is quite neutral and you enjoy that game. So that is why I mean level 2. जब तक आपको ये विम नहीं जम रहा है, जब तक आप इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करके विल, इमोशन, इंटेलेक्ट, मेमोरी जॉट डाउन नहीं कर पा रहे, तब तक आप ये मेथड्स यूज़ कर सकते हो. लेकिन आपका टारगेट होना चाहिए कि आपको विम तक पहुंचना है, क्योंकि विम जब भी आप अचीव करोगे, इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करके अपने आप अगर आप विम का इक्विलाइजर अचीव करोगे, तो आपको कुछ हाथ पैर हिलाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. आप मन से ही पूरा आपका स्ट्रेस डिसअपियर कर सकते हैं, पूरा आपको एक स्टेट पे, एक हेल्दी स्टेट पे अपने आप ला सकते हो. What comes next is increased maturity. So you are practicing level 2, you are practicing level 3 together, and then over a period of time, slowly you can easily do your introspection. You can easily write down your own diary. At the end of the page of the diary, you can easily make out what exactly is your whim, emotion, intellect, memory, and you are able to equalize them in a proper way. So that will be level 3 maturity. So even though I have explained you in 1 hour, since I'm practicing for past more than 25 years, I'm receiving many cases and I'm dealing with this concept of whim for past 25 years, I have a level that yes, I can imagine myself, I can imagine somebody else, and I can, just jot down whim of myself as well as other person. But for a newcomer, for a person who is new to this idea, it will take some time. So initially you feel कि अरे ये कुछ इसमें कुछ दम नहीं है, लेकिन इसमें दम अगर नहीं होता तो आज होम्योपैथी इतना जो दिख रहा है वो सक्सेसफुल नहीं होता, क्योंकि ईच एंड एवरी होम्योपैथ हु इज प्रैक्टिसिंग क्लासिकल होम्योपैथी bases his prescription on this concept of whim. This is what all about balancing work and life. There is more info available on our pages. You can very well go through those pages, and if you have any questions, I am open for questions.
We're waiting for questions from the attendees. I have a few questions that I would like to ask you.
Yeah, sure.
Like I was noting down these when you were talking throughout the session. So the first one is, if the patient is in hurry, do you ask all the details pertaining to their mind or not? Like, because there's time restrictions with every patient also, right? There are more patients waiting. So how does that happen?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, whenever I receive a call, quite often people say कि अरे क्या है, मेरे कंप्लेंट्स तो सुनने हैं आपको, मैं इमीडिएटली आपको फ़ोन पे बता देता हूँ और मुझे मेडिसिन बता देना. तो वो पॉसिबल नहीं होता, क्योंकि ये सब पूरे डिटेल्स हमें लेने पड़ते हैं. सो सिंस वी नीड टू रिसीव ऑल दिस डिटेल्स फ्रॉम द इंडिविजुअल हु इज सीकिंग ट्रीटमेंट, वी यूजुअली एलोकेट एन अपॉइंटमेंट, प्रॉपर अपॉइंटमेंट टू देम, and then the person as well need to spend around 1.5 hours giving their personal details, life situation, emotional feelings and all. Often we come across patients who say कि अरे मेरे कंडीशन तो इतनी एक्यूट है, मुझे इतनी तकलीफ हो रही है. तो तभी हम लोग कभी कभार एक्यूट कुछ रेमेडीज दे देते हैं कि आप ये ले लो, और बाद में हम लोग केस टेकिंग का एक अपॉइंटमेंट शेड्यूल करते हैं. तो whenever you approach a homeopath, you really need to give a good time, a quality time to answer to all his questions. Then only you can expect cure from a homeopath.
I was not aware about mental wellness. Does it really matters?
Earlier or even couple of individuals say कि mental awareness, mental health क्या है, ऐसी कोई चीज़ है क्या. But frankly speaking, अभी जो हम लोगों ने आज देखा, जो मैंने चार्ट्स आपको दिखाए, तो जैसा मैंने पहले इनिशियल फ्यू स्लाइड्स में कहा आपको कि डू यू गेट अ 1-pager मेडिकल रिपोर्ट. सो दिस इज व्हाट इज ऑल अबाउट अ 1-pager मेडिकल रिपोर्ट. नाउ वी हैव गैजेट्स लाइक यू हैव ECG, where you can apply those electrodes on your chest and you get a wave of your heart functioning. We have EEG, electroencephalogram, wherever those electrodes are applied on the skull, and then you get alpha wave, beta wave, and all those details from the brain activity. But as of today, as of date, there is no gadget which can have a kind of graph of our mind. The way I explained you just now in the form of will, emotion, intellect, memory, there's no gadget which can tell you that this is what is all about, this is what all your mind is all about. So we don't see our mind into reality, but then we are aware कि कभी कभार डिप्रेस लगता है, कभी कभार कभी कुछ जैसा ब्रेकअप हो गया या कोई गुजर गया तो अपने को बहुत सैड फीलिंग आते हैं. तो माइंड इज डेफिनेटली देयर, एंड हेंस you have an organ, though not called as an organ, mind as an organ should be treated. Hence the mental health really matters.
Can you share a page or a table in which I can write about my own mind to so that I can self-analyze things?
So what I'll do is I have a PDF file which is a table where it says WIM Emotion Intellect. So I'll share it with Green Aims in Foundation, and then possibly you can get it from them. That PDF you can print either, or you can somehow use that PDF. You can write down those, or you can create that kind of table on a piece of paper and then utilize that.
Okay, thank you. So I have a last question, and then we have two more questions from the participants, which we can take. So my question is, does your session the speech that you gave till now, related any way to spirituality, like all the lectures given by spiritual leaders?
I actually, frankly speaking, being a medical professional, I had no idea what spirituality is all about. But of late, I have come across few sessions from Chinmay Mission about Vedant Foundation, Vedant Advanced course. And to my surprise, whatever I spoke today is the same way given in our Vedas. So if you get an opportunity to study Vedant or Vedas from Chinmay Mission, that's what I found personally to be a very good organization. But if you have any other organization, I would recommend that you do go back to our ancient times, do learn Vedas, and you will find that the same concept exists in Vedas. So what do it mean? That we have heard Rishis and Munis and our ancestors staying healthy. Just imagine that we have so many gadgets, we have so many advanced medical science today in today's perspective when we have this kind of pandemic called COVID. So just imagine what would have had happened during the ancient times pandemic. But still people survived because they were practicing the items, or they were practicing the Vedas, what the Vedas have quoted appropriately in them. So this definitely has a lot of relation, but independently, in the sense the concept which I narrated are directly from homeopathic concepts or from homeopathy itself, but it has roots in our Vedas. Maybe possibly some foreigner have studied our Vedas and then in the form of some other pathy it has got published somewhere in the world.
Okay, so thank you. So we'll move on to the questions of the participants now.
Yeah.
We have one question from Dr. Anuya. She is asking, if a person is being targeted by other people in the office, how is that person supposed to deal with it? As one can control only one's behavior and not others.
Exactly.
So as what I said, that the happiness is within and not outside. So whenever somebody is teasing or whenever somebody is targeting you in a particular organization, you have to keep it in mind that there are energy suckers, or in common terminology, our mobile gets discharged. So you might have imagined that when we use a lot of apps throughout the day, the mobile gets discharged very early. Now it is up to you that you cannot stop them from harassing you. You cannot stop them from targeting you. But you can shut them off. You can switch them off from your mind. You should not be bothered about what they are saying. You should be much focused on what you intend to do and what you want to do. Let them talk whatever they want to say, whatever they want to do. So it again comes back to the switch what I spoke about, that you have to have a very good switch in your mind, that you're going to switch off these kind of energy suckers, those individuals who are going to drain out your energy. You should not be thinking on what acts, deeds they are doing about you as a person. You should focus on your own goals, you should focus on your own aims and continue working till you achieve your targets.
Okay, thank you, sir. I hope, Dr. Anuya, your question is answered. One more question is from Prasanna Pethe. The person is asking, can homeopathy change or alter VEM of a person?
The answer to this question is yes as well as no. In the sense, yes, to an extent. Say for example, I gave you an example of a snake passing on my leg. So if that is my extraordinary out of proportion reaction to the reality. So if a person is presented to a homeopath with this kind of a situation where that person has a lot of imaginations of reality, then with homeopathic treatment we can make him aware about the reality. With homeopathic treatment, all those delusions, all those false perception about the reality will disappear. So his whim will get altered with homeopathic treatment. But a stage will come where the person is quite aware about the reality. He is no more indulging himself in exalted fancies about the reality. That stage, which is the original behavioral pattern of the individual, will get adjusted to the healthy state of being, and beyond that it will not be changed. In the sense, if I decide that किसी एक इंसान को मुझे पागल बनाना है होम्योपैथिक रेमेडी से, या किसी के पास से मुझे कुछ करा के लेना है होम्योपैथिक रेमेडी से, which is impossible, which is practically not possible, because we can treat abnormalities with homeopathy, but we cannot alter physiology with homeopathy. Hence, you might have been aware that homeopathic medicines are not at all active or not indicated in family planning, because family planning is all about amending and changing normal physiology. So my answer to this question, yes, to the extent that we retain the mental health of the person, and homeopathy cannot change the natural behavioral pattern once we have achieved the health in that particular person. So yes for initial stage and no for later on stage.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your question. We have another question from Makrant Buddhi Sakar. He's asking, in the current situation of COVID, business is badly affected, virtually closed business. Also, there are situations in your surrounding of illness around us. Does homeopathy help in keeping one hopeful about the future?
Again, hope and that positive ray is from within. I would suggest that you need to focus within yourself, and you need to act, you need to do introspection, and then try to be positive on your own. But if at all you fail to do so, then definitely homeopathy can help you bringing down your emotions, your mindset to the reality. Beyond a particular point, homeopathy may not able to be helpful. So quite often in our clinic, when we take a case and we prescribe a remedy to a patient, next time when the patient comes, the patient says, wow, ऐसा फीलिंग तो मेरे को ज़िंदगी में कभी नहीं आया. तो जैसे जैसे दिन जाते हैं, जैसे जैसे होम्योपैथिक ट्रीटमेंट आगे बढ़ता है, उसके जो क्रोनिक सिम्टम्स है, एक्यूट सिम्टम्स है, वो क्योर हो जाते हैं, और बाद में जब भी हम लोग डोज देते हैं, तो दैट टाइम दैट वाव फीलिंग डजंट कम, बिकॉज in the earlier stages the patient have been suffering from a state of being which is abnormal state of being, and once the person takes homeopathic treatment, initial doses, before homeopathy, whatever allopathy or whatever other medication you take has no role to play in your mind or the whim of the particular individual. But once you receive certain doses of homeopathic medicine after a proper diligent case taking, you come to a ground level of reality. Beyond that, you will not find any difference, but then at a certain level you need to be proactive, and you need to do that positive anchoring for yourself on your own. So positive anchoring is also done by psychologists, but then you cannot have a psychologist, or I personally, despite of being homeopath, will not recommend anybody to take homeopathy lifelong. Ultimately, the role of our treatment is to make you independent. So you have to have that maturity level 3 achieved with the help of homeopathy, as well as with the help of introspection and your own inner engineering.
Okay, thank you, sir. I hope that answers your question. Ashish, sir is asking, can you comment on the effects of food we consume on mind and emotional balance? Food such as spicy, oily, or non-veg food. Also, the effect of electronic gadgets on mental health.
firstly, I like to cover electronic gadgets because we've been exposed to electronic gadgets quite a lot. Now, we are constantly hanged on to social media, and at times it happens so that we have to, I just have to message a specific appointment timing to a patient. And whenever I open my WhatsApp, I tend to see some other messages, and I am drafted towards those other messages, and I forget to send that appointment timing to that patient. So what happens with that is that your time management goes to a toss. Whenever your time is not thoroughly and properly managed, then your mental health is definitely going to get affected because whatever targets you have set in, you're not going to achieve. So obviously these gadgets play a role in that sense. Second thing, the gadgets, whenever you are hanged on to all social media till late night, in our brain there is a secretion which is secreted which induces sound and proper sleep. Whenever you are exposed to yourself to strong light, that time that particular secretion fails, or it is very short, and then it fails to induce a sound sleep. So just imagine that if you have been slogged to work 24/7, what will happen? The same thing, if your mind is occupied 24/7, will happen to your organ like brain, heart, and then at the first level your mental health will be affected, and then physical health. Now what comes to the food aspect. Food aspect too really affect us, in the sense whatever preservatives we have in your food, that do affect us as well. Your body should not be deficient of vitamins. Say for example, if you have vitamin B deficiency, now vitamin B deficiency will tend to, your memory will go down. You start forgetting things small, like आज क्या चाबी भूल गया, कल क्या आप पेन भूल गए, कब परसों आप मोबाइल ही लेना भूल गए. So that forgetfulness will increase. So if your food is not quality food, if your food is not balanced diet, and if it only includes only certain aspect, then obviously it is going to take a toss and toll on your mental health. Though at times the link may be direct, at times the link may be indirect.
Okay, thank you, sir. That was our last question for today.
Okay.
And wow, this has been a very informative session. I hope that all the attendees and the panelists will incorporate whatever they have gained today in their day-to-day life and find their perfect balance. I'd really like to thank Dr. Ashutosh Pradhan for being with us today and imparting his knowledge to all of us. We're really grateful. I'd also like to thank our hosts from the Green Names Foundation, the owners, the trustees, and for making this seminar possible and for bringing the panelists in touch with our attendees. With this, we would be ending the session with a lot of positivity and gratitude. Thank you to everyone for attending the session, and we hope you have a good night.
Thank you.